All right, episode 3 of Toad Talk. CEO Nick Sherburne of Club Champion. What better guest to have on than a fellow equipment nerd here? We got 3 of us. Um, Before we get into it, our last guest was Paulie Mack, the longest hitter on the LPGA Tour. Nick, I want to see you and Paulie go head to head on the driving range, a little long drive contest.
I think she has me. I think she'd get me.
She is something else. Her swing, the distance obviously is impressive, but the repeatability is just through the roof. No, but so the nexus of Speed Toad was obviously learning the importance of your own driver shaft, mastering the timing of it, and obviously speed training with it. And who better to have on the show than a fellow club fitter? You know, we talked to professional golfers, amateur golfers, PGA teaching pros, and the people that get the Speed Toad the quickest, the aha moment comes the fastest, is our club fitters. And so, what better club fitter to have on than Club Champion? We'll get right into it. Your homepage on your website says the average customer of Club Champion sees 21 yards of distance on their driver after getting a fitting. And I mean, between speed and launch conditions and spin, I can see how it'd be 21 at least. Talk to us about finding the importance of, the shaft and club head combination for the average golfer, and why is that so vital to playing golf?
Yeah, I think what the average golfer misses is how the golf club affects what they do with their body, right? So, I look at a shaft as more like the timing device. So it's like your speed and how you create that speed. So, we hear a lot today, specifically around like lab putters, but it's actually just happens in every kind of product, is torque, right? And so, shafts and their bend profiles, weights, flexes, all that can cause your body, your muscles, everything you have in you to do different things, whether it's, swing faster, swing slower, swing steeper, swing shallower. And I think that's what a lot of amateurs or golfers that may not be as technologically savvy as we are don't understand, is how those things are affecting how fast they swing the golf club. It's like it's one of the things like I get kind of jacked up about, is like, we'll get hate on peering. Well, I can show how peering can change your speed by a mile per hour, and a mile per hour for some people is 3 to 4 miles per hour ball speed, which can be another club of distance. And people will go, well, Nick, how's that possible? Well, I go, well, that torque of that shaft, if it's in the wrong, you're fighting it. You don't know it, but you're fighting it. Your muscles are reacting to it, and so it's slowing you down and you're not getting your maximum speed. And so when I look at shaft, that's what I'm looking at, is how can I create the most speed and consistency for a golfer. And then I use the head to dial in that more launch and spin characteristics and forgiveness characteristics, and obviously there's some speed component to that as well. But the USGA's put more limitations on that, so that's where that little change happens. And then, as you guys know, there's then the swing weight component to it, because there's the old force is mass times acceleration. So, it's, you can really go down it, but golfers don't take it as seriously as they should, as we all know. And distance is king. I don't care what they say. There's a cone out there, and the farther you get, the more dispersion you can have, and it's worth it.
Yeah, for sure. You just talked about swing weight. That's something that we experienced a lot in training and tweaked, of putting lead tape on the back end of it, putting lead tape on the bottom of it. Is swing weight something that you guys spend a lot of time in your fittings trying to dial in?
Yeah, it's something we spend a lot of time on. It's actually, when we bring in new fitters, which is happening all the time as we grow, they're always kind of thrown back because the typical fitter doesn't really play with that a lot. Most of the time because they just don't have the tools, right? Or they can't build to it anyway. So what's the difference? And so in the world that we live in, or I've set up, that's a huge component. And it's because I started this as a consumer myself, and I found out it actually, it wasn't me. It was an engineer at TaylorMade at the time, Dr. Benoit. I can't remember what the model was, R11, R1, one of those. It was white, and it had the slot in the middle, or in the front. And he sent it with 3 weights in the front. And he goes, Nick, he goes, hit this. He goes, don't look at the swing weight. Don't look at anything. He's just like, hit it. You're going to hit it a mile. And we're going back some years now, like almost 20 probably. And sure enough, I mean, it felt like a sledgehammer, but I hit this thing so far. And he's like, this is where I struggle as an engineer because the marketing and sales department want a D3 swing weight, but he goes, I need weight. He goes, if I want to make it go farther. Now he's like, I'm not saying it's for everyone, but he goes, weight is something that's going to help people hit it farther a lot of times, but it's not, it's a certain weight for every person. So dialing it in. And ever since that, for the last 20 years, that's a big component. Now, again, that could be C5 to E5. My point is I tell people don't get stuck on it. Just whatever gives you the most ball speed, ultimately the most distance, that's what it is. You'll be able to swing it the 14 times you have to swing a driver during a round. Don't worry about that. You're not going to get tired.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that if you're not looking at it, you definitely should because physics says you should. Mass is part of that force equation.
And you mentioned it right there. It's so individual too. Like Sam and I, all the training we've done together, my miss is right and generally Sam's miss is left. And so our swing weights, what we like to feel in our hands and what our golf game needs are so different because of our misses, but it's so individual, and marrying, your dispersion and your speed to get the right swing weight. That's awesome. Your fitters focus on that because that and you touched on torque both often don't get focused on, and they make such a big difference.
They do, and you also have to pay attention. I tell folks all the time because that swing weight's going to change how the shaft performs too. So you make a head heavier. Now the shaft's going to change, not only flex, it's going to be softer. Could change the profile a little bit, soften up the tip. And vice versa. You take swing weight out, you can be stiffening up the tip, stiffen up the shaft. So, that's why, like in the fit, the fitters will sit there. If it's a driver head, a lot of times today they have the kit and they can sit there and play with it. But they also have lead tape rolls in there, and so they can do it the old school way and play around with different weighting and stuff. And to your point, it's not just always in the head too. It's sometimes up in the handle.
Yeah. And before we move on, you mentioned torque and puring. I'm on team puring. Sam and I had a club builder for years and still have him. He's awesome. And man, it's a world of difference when he builds a shaft for us versus one off the shelf that he pured and got dialed in for us. It makes all the difference, especially when you're talking, 3 yards could be the difference between in the fairway or in the rough.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's a hard technology because you can't see it. Pretty much a lot of the tour does it, and it was unfortunate that Trotty did his video with Tiger, and Tiger goes, I don't pure his stuff, even though I can show that we pure all the time. So folks that don't know, Club Champion did buy SST Pure in 2019. The founder of SST Pure is a good friend of mine. I call him Uncle Dick Weiss, and because we were one of his first people. So people that don't know me, my first love was bow hunting, and it still is it's right there with golf. And we always, and I still today build my own arrows and everything. And so we used to spine arrows back in the day, and now we still spine arrows. They actually come spined, but you can buy them that way now. But anyway, so when I got into golf and I saw that people were spining shafts, it just made sense to me because I had done it in my other hobby. And so when puring became a thing, I'm like, well, this is just a more scientific way. It makes a lot of sense. And so when he wanted to retire off, he was in his late 70s. I'm like, well, I don't want this to fall into the wrong hands. So we bought it. We run it as a separate company. We sell it to whoever wants it. And they, our competition has it. We don't care. We want as many people to have the access to it as possible. But what it is like a graphite shaft is composed of a bunch of layers. Think about taking construction paper and rolling it around a pencil. Think about doing that with whatever. It could be 2 layers. It could be 10 layers. Okay. And they're using glue on one side of it to hold it all together. Well, when you do that, you're, just put one sticker on something. You usually get bubbles or little marks or little things in there. Now you're wrapping this construction paper around a pencil. You're going to get voids in there. And if you've ever taken Elmer's glue or any kind of glue and let it dry, it becomes brittle. So what happens is if there's voids between these materials, that glue dries hard and it creates what I like to call a knot in the tree. And so you get these knots in there. And so you get these irregularities in the shaft that cause it to bend out of, profile. It may not seem like a lot, but it's the same difference. Like I said, when we're talking about torque of putters and lab and all that, it's the same concept where it's causing a reaction that your body has to react to, which slows you down. It creates inconsistencies in every study you can see. Like there's robot studies. I don't really like robot studies because we're not robots. But if you go online and you see all even the like I've done plenty of like readers, like where we go to like Plugged In Golf or one of these like forum sites, and we bring in a bunch of their readers and we do a bunch of studies with them, you'll see that it makes them faster. It makes them more consistent because they're not fighting that shaft anymore. And same thing happens in steel. There's other inconsistencies. So it's something when you're looking for speed, Purion is definitely speed and consistency. Purion's definitely something not to overlook. There's more to it than you think. And again, it's not just golf there's a reason why they're called pipe fitters. Nothing's perfectly straight. Nothing's perfectly round, and neither are golf shafts. So this is something that's done in a lot of industries, and golf's just one of them, and it's called SST Pure.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry. So correct me if I'm wrong. Every shaft is going to have different irregularities and impurities in different locations. So you can't just say, well, the label needs to be here, the logo needs to be here. Every shaft has a different irregularities. So that's where puring that specific shaft before you go put it in your bag is so important, right?
Absolutely. And it's fun. Like if you ever get to watch a video of a golf shaft being made, at the end, there's the quality control. And when they're doing the frequency test, they clamp the shaft on the butt section, okay, and then they fling it, and it gives a CPM as it flings. If you watch them do it, they keep turning the shaft and flinging it until they find the side that has the frequency which meets the tolerance that the manufacturer wanted, right? So if you get a shaft and every shaft will almost have it, there's a white line or a line at the end of the shaft. You guys have probably seen that, right? Like it looks like a chalk line right there. That's the line where it met frequency CPMs. The point why for their tolerance, that's the tolerance line for CPM, just so everybody knows. But the reason why I bring it up is because they had to turn it to get it there. Well, that just shows you each side has a different frequency, which means there's something going on in that shaft. If not, every side has the same frequency. Yeah. So,
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And this is all stuff that people don't necessarily understand. And golfers, you can gain a couple miles per hour in your swing just by getting set up with your right shaft, just by puring it, just by doing it. It's like you're struggling to gain 5 yards off the tee. Well, this is something that you can just pay for a one-time thing, and all of a sudden you've gained that speed because now you have the right shaft.
Well, and I love to explain to golfers. They'll be like, I'll be in a fit or something, and a golfer will go, well, Nick, it's 10 yards. I'll just hit one more club. I'll go, really? So you're going to hit a 5-iron instead of a 6-iron. Let me talk to you about that. And then I start labeling off the statistics. So you're going to be, it's usually around 15 to 20 feet closer to the pin on average, okay, with a 6-iron to a 5-iron. Now you have more birdie putts and ending with pars than par putts ending with bogeys. I mean, we're talking about, you start taking about strokes gained and all that, and then they're like, well, I never thought about it like that. I'm like, well, that's why I'm here, to help you. I was a consumer like you at one point, and I was tired of getting sold what I wanted. I wanted to get sold what was going to help me play better golf. Yeah, am I in the business to sell golf clubs? I am. I'm never going to lie about that. But am I in the business to sell golf clubs you need? That's what I'm in the business for. So,
yeah, that's awesome. That's where we kind of come in. We're the speed and distance guys. Obviously, equipment is a huge part of that, but we want to find the best way to speed train to gain that speed that people don't necessarily understand that it's possible or that they can do.
What shafts are you guys using right now?
Bryce,
so
go ahead.
I have the TPT 14 high in both my driver and mini driver, and shafts are so expensive these days. To your point, like Sam just made the point, like if I'm spending that much money on a shaft, I'm going to make sure that shaft is in the optimal position once I put it in my bag. I mean, for an extra however much, to get it pured.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I broke the ball speed world record, I was using a TPT 20 high, and then for the club speed record was a Free Flux 38. Right now, I'm in between play shafts. I'm just using one off the shelf. It was a demo shaft that I'm using currently.
That free flex, I hit one of those. Holy cow, that thing. Did you have to time? You got the club head speed with that one, you said?
Yeah,
That makes
172.5.
sense because that thing's like a buggy whip. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's all or nothing with that shaft.
Yeah,
It's not great for the course unless you're like an 80-mile-per-hour senior, pretty much.
One of my best friends in the industry is a guy by the name of Victor Fable, and he was the president of Graphite Design, then started Oban. Now he has VA Composites. But yeah, he was over in Korea or something, and he sent me one of those. And he goes, "Here, this thing's pretty wild." And I was like, "Holy cow!" It's interesting shaft. Yeah, I could see why you'd get the club head speed for that. Yep.
And that's where, when we were training, my TPT 14 is, for my golf, trying to score low scores. But when we were speed training with those super flexible, low CPM shafts, you realize how important the timing is. And that's where the light bulbs start going off. Like, we should be speed training with our shaft to perfect the timing of it and not, a different stick.
Well, because you guys know this, when you start getting heavier and stiffer, your body reacts to that. So now your bigger muscles are starting to slow you down a little bit instead of making you faster. And so it's like you start getting those little lighter, softer shafts like that free flex. Now you're just like, yeah, you got to get timing involved in it. But once you do, man, you can slam that thing.
Yeah. And let your
I don't know
muscles
where it was going, but you can slam it.
Yeah,
So-
and that's what. Go ahead, Bryce.
No, you go, Sam.
I was saying, so that's really where, it came down to that, is we understood the importance of timing with our shaft, and we didn't want to get our big muscles involved, which is why we created Speed Toad. And so right now, our users are averaging about 5.4 miles per hour gained in club speed with their actual driver within the first 4 weeks, and it's anywhere from 8 to 16 miles per hour in the next 3 months. So with all that speed being gained, we'd love for you to tell our customers
That's club head speed?
club head speed.
Okay. So 5 per hour club head speed. So
in the first 4 weeks, 8 to 16 within the first 3 months, depending on the person.
God. Okay. So general math would say, let's just start with 5. So if you got 5 miles per hour club head speed, you're probably getting somewhere, I would hope, maybe like 10 miles per hour ball speed.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking like 30 yards.
We are. So
30 to 40 yards. And then, it starts going up from there. If you can get up, you go to 16, you can kind of do the math from there. You're talking some monster yardage. And like I said at the beginning, I think that's one thing Bryson's done well. And I think the professional long drive guys have done well is, everybody says, well, straightness is important. Yes, I'm never going to say it's not. But again, there's this cone of influence. So the farther you go, the wilder you can get. And so people need to understand that, because distance is a real thing that can help you big time.
Yeah, for sure. So with all that speed being gained, when do you think is a good time to get back in and get refit for another shaft?
Yeah, that's the question. So I would say probably after you get to at least that 5 miles, that's probably when I would start going. When you get to that 5 to 8 mile per hour marker, I think that's probably the easy one to get to, or I should say easier. And then, then you're going to, obviously it's going to be a tougher journey, but it sounds like you're getting them there. I'm intrigued. I probably should sign up for this. And then, can you make a big guy fast?
Well, let's get back to getting you and Polly Mack on the driving range together.
Yeah. And then, and then you could do it later. Because honestly, once you guys know this, it's too, some of it's timing. So it really depends a little bit too, because sometimes that speed won't also matter as much. It depends, but on the golf club influence. But 5 to 10, you probably need to, for sure.
I guess that's an advantage of Club Champion too, is if they're seeing their ball balloon up or dispersion start getting weird, they can go in and bring in their current driver, test what you got, and see if there is should I make a change or no, are we still good to go?
Well, and that's what we're always trying to do. We're trying to create relationships. We're trying to be the tour van for the average golfer, right? And so the idea would be is like you tell them what we're doing. Hey, I'm working with Speed Toad and I'm doing this. I've gotten this much faster. Let's get a baseline. The fitter can tell you, you know what, right now, if you're on this journey, just stay where you are and then come see me when you get to X. or no, your spin's way too high, or whatever it is right now. Let's do this tweak now, and then come see me. There's a million avenues you can go, and then some people just they love golf so much they'll just spend money to have the driver they need at each point. You know what I mean? That'd be me. That's why I had to start a golf shop, so that I didn't go broke. So yeah.
Okay.
I do that with hunting equipment, so they see me coming from a mile away.
That's why we started a golf business to justify our golf habit. It's
Exactly.
it's just smart.
Yeah.
So I noticed the AI Club Fitter Copilot that you guys have launched or about to launch, and I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, we launched it. I actually created this. It was during COVID. My board, it started off more as like a classic board discussion, but I had an underlying goal, as the consumer side of it more. So we were so busy, they were like, how can we make fits faster? So we can get more people in. And I'll be honest with you, our feedback from our fitters or customers are like, man, great fitting, but I'm tired. It was long, my attention span, whatever. I looked at it as holy cow. When I started this in the late 90s, early 2000s, I had like 5 heads to choose from and like 5 shafts to choose from. There's like nothing. And now, you look, and I'm always bringing stuff in. So it says 65,000 plus. It's more than that. And so it's just because I just love equipment. And so, the reality of it is you can't, like, I tell even my most tenured guys that have been with me like 10 years, I'm like, take your ego out of it, man. Like, you cannot, like, I cannot process that much equipment with one customer in a fit. And so, the reality of it is I had a buddy who, I met him through my fitting bay, but he's a data scientist and he works for a company that does like a lot of mechanical learning, AI, stuff like that. And so we were having a fun discussion about like, creating a software that could help us sift through this. So, the conversation came. It turns out we take 1 million swings a month throughout our 146 stores, okay, on average. So we have all this great data from 333 fitters, perfectly tagged in TrackMan's cloud, all this stuff. And he's like, man, this is a dream data. He's like, most of the data we use, we're building insurance models, all this other stuff. And he's like, it's usually garbage in and, all this stuff. And he's like, we could really do something cool here. And so we set out, we've had it going since 2022. We haven't really pushed it out to the public because we wanted to make sure it was really good and special before we made a big deal out of it. But the fitters have been using it for a couple of years and it's really good. It makes sure, like I said, the fitter's never going to be replaced. That's one thing I learned through this process. AI will never replace a fitter. There's just too many variables. But what it can do is, and you guys know this, but the general public, every time you go do a fit, the fitter is going to pull a couple shafts that just never should have been pulled. They didn't know, they were testing. They wanted to see if the opposite, whatever it is, there's always that. You're going to just test some stuff that was like, even I'll go, man, that was a waste of time. I wish I wouldn't have wasted 4 swings on that pull. And so this just kind of eliminates that whole world. It makes it so that it makes the fitters, it makes you smarter, faster. And that's what I like about it is it's making you smarter, faster.
That's super smart. So if a customer comes into Club Champion and this AI is being utilized, I would imagine it's important they bring their current driver or current irons to start a baseline, right?
Well, and we already do that. We want that today. I've always been a big believer of that. I want you to see where your current club is today. Because like I always tell every golfer that comes into a Club Champion, hey, you might buy something, all of it or none of it today. Because we may tell you a certain club is fine, and you just keep it in your bag and keep going. We may tell you we want to tweak a golf club, not totally replace it. And we may tell you, hey, let's trade that sucker in. It's terrible and get something new. But so we always want your existing club. And plus, I want you to understand the why behind stuff. Like to me, I came at this as a consumer. So for me, I wanted, if I'm going to ask you to spend a bunch of money, and I get it, Club Champion's not cheap, and I can show you why. I sit right on the floor of our great build shop here. It's a lot to have a facility like this. It's not cheap. But I want them to understand the value proposition from it. I want them to understand the why behind it. I want them to leave going, okay, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm spending the money. And this is ultimately how it's going to help me lower my scores when I play golf. And it's not just buying what I want, or it's just not buying something to buy something. It's actually buying something to help me shoot lower scores.
That makes you enjoy the game more than anything. When you start shooting lower scores
Yeah.
versus just, man, it feels good going to the golf store and buying that club off the rack, and you got a brand new club in your bag, and you go up to the first tee, but the second you slice that thing into the woods, it stops feeling fun.
Yeah. No, I didn't grow up. I didn't have parents that were golfers, and I grew up on a farm. And so I come from a non-golfing family. And so when I entered golf, I had to do this thing on my own. And golf is an expensive sport. And so, but I was also came from a family that, when you did things, you bought farm equipment, you bought anything, you did it right. And you bought it once and you used and you kept it a long time. And so that's the way when I got into golf, I looked at it. And so, I looked at equipment as not just buying equipment. I wanted it, this was when Tiger was blowing up the whole 9 yards, late 90s. And I wanted to be the next Tiger Woods, like everybody. So, when I looked at equipment, it wasn't just about buying. I didn't know any better, so I didn't really know equipment. I just knew I wanted whatever was going to make me play my best golf. And that's what chased it. And thank God I never got hung up on brands and things like that.
Yeah, like Sam said, it's a lot more fun when you're hitting good shots. Golf's a lot more enjoyable. Although it doesn't matter. Some days golf just humbles you and reminds you that it's the boss.
Exactly.
So what's next for Club Champion in the next 6, 12, 18 months?
So, we're going to continue to open stores around the United States, but we've been working on our expansion around internationally. What's interesting is in the United States, club fitting has obviously become very popular. And it's very cool to see what's happened because, 10 years ago, Data Tech would have told you when they did their National Golf Foundation, whichever one, 10% of golfers thought they were going to get fit. It's now up to 80%. 80% said they were going to get fit next time. Now, what level of fitting that is, but they're going to get fit. Okay. They're not just going to go buy something off the shelf. You go over like Canada, we'll put them 5 years behind us. You go to Europe, we'll put them 10 years behind us. You go over to Asia, they're almost 15, 20 years behind us when you look at how they buy golf clubs. Okay. So, over in Asia, it's still very class set. So they don't play as much golf. They go play sim golf. They go to driving range. They want to have the bag there that shows a status symbol, right? So it's still more about, what brands and stuff and not about performance. So the way I see the great frontier of club fitting is internationally right now. And so you're going to, we're in UK, Canada, Australia, but we're going to keep moving on through the international market and keep expanding and showing those folks like, hey, you can play better golf, or even if you're going to play sim golf, let's at least play the best golf you can play.
No doubt.
By the way, I'm a huge sim golfer too. So,
and that,
that's my department.
So every Monday, Sam and I used for 2 years would speed train in Sam's garage, and we lived on a simulator. And we've seen, speed toad wise in Asia, like you mentioned, the driving range and the indoor golf that they play. They've loved the speed toad because you can practice with it indoors in those same locations. You don't need to be on a huge outdoor course or even outdoor driving range. It's interesting to see the different, geographies kind of find different areas within the sport.
Yeah, they're coming. Like I said, they're coming around more on like the whole It's not that they didn't understand it, but caring about the performance more than just having the status symbol of something. Korea in general is really getting it.
Interesting. Well, that's awesome. Sam, I think I'm out of questions. What do you got?
Yeah, we could go on for hours with questions on clubs.
It is a Monday morning and we have work to do.
I got one last question. I asked you, Shafts, what club heads do you guys use for your on your day-to-day golf?
So right now, my driver is the AI Smoke at 8 degrees, but I'm adding 2 degrees back. So it's playing at 10 degrees.
You said you have your right miss?
I have my right miss, and I add the draw bias. And I forward press my hands a lot at impact, reducing the loft, which is why I have to bring it up to 10, even though I'm playing at 190 ball speed. You'd think that's a lot of loft. But I will say, I feel like I need to fine tune the club head. I like the shaft. I need to fine tune which club head I've got though.
Okay.
I'm rocking the Cobra Dark Speed long drive head version because I'll still, when I go play golf, be 205, 210 ball speed, and I just burn through club heads. So I need something a little thicker.
I was going to say, I mean, how fast do you go through heads?
Pretty quick. So when we were speed training for the world record, it was anywhere from 400 to 500 hits, and that was on the long drive head. I did the test with a normal dark speed head to see how many hits I could get, and it was sub 100 for the thing to break. The whole face just cracked on me.
Yeah, you would be one of our fitters' nightmares on the warranty side. Like, another one. we would just have like a subscription model to your warranties. Just blowing up heads left and right.
What's the CT on the long drive heads are only like 132, right? It's in the low 30s usually.
Something like that. I know it's thicker and lower, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it takes a while to get them hotter. Like, we're talking 1,000 hits for it to start to creep up there to where it's rolling towards the normal heads. That was one nice thing about the normal heads, because right when I grabbed that, you start swinging the regular heads, that thing's hot right away. So even though it's a higher loft than the long drive head, the ball speed jumps up. But then it breaks, so then you got to move on to a different club.
Yeah, I was going to say. And I'm thinking about your sim. Like, you got to go through, like, nets pretty quick.
Yeah, we put a hole in net return, which is it's very popular to never put a hole in those. So we put a hole in that, and then we put a hole in a couple of screens. I actually went to a Golf Galaxy and was hitting a couple of drivers and put one through their screen. So
yeah, I would think you'd go through our screen. That's amazing. No, that's fun. I know that. I was interested with that kind of speed, what it takes. You know, we don't see that kind of thing that often. So that at all, well, that high, but we don't even see, like, when you start getting even 180 ball speeds, you don't see that much. So
Sam has, I think, Sam has 4 painter tarps behind his sim screen. Those thick canvas, 4 of them.
I don't know if you're married or anything, but it goes through the drywall into the living room, and his wife's yelling at him, "What are you doing?"
He is married, and sometimes we'd be speed training, we'd be high-fiving, and his wife would pop in the garage like, "What are you guys doing? What kind of ruckus is down here?" It has
to sound like a cannon going off in there.
Oh, yeah. It echoes bad.
Awesome. Well, Nick, bow season's right around the corner. Yeah. I'm sure you're getting your arrows tuned, but they come tuned now, like you said.
They come spined. I put the fletchings on there and everything, yep.
All right, you're ready. Well, good luck during the season, and I really appreciate you spending some time talking about clubs, because it's a passion of ours, and as with our customers that are speed training with their driver shafts. So I'm sure they're going to love hearing all this information.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome. You bet. Appreciate it, Nick.